Due to the unpredictability of Lexer's behavior, listener discretion is advised. The VoT Network presents the Voices of Terminus show with your hosts, Yarnilla, Lexer, and Joshua.
Welcome everyone to the Voice of the Terminus show. We are back in business. Say hello, Josh.
Despite my sabotages.
Hey!
Say hello, Lex.
Hello, Lex.
Jai, say hello.
Hello.
And we're joined today by Thorndeep. Say hello, mate.
Greetings!
So we're here today to kind of get back into the business of it. We thought we'd do a player Q&A. We've had this planned for a long time. We actually had a mix-up in December, but that was on my end. So before we kick into the discussion here, the interview, sit down with Thorndeep and look at the news. So we went on break for a multitude of reasons. A lot of them on a personal level. I had a lot going on, and so did Lex and Josh in our personal lives, so we had to take that break to recuperate and figure everything out. And now we're basically back and working on some very interesting things that will be coming in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for all that. But let's have a look at the news and what's been happening this past week elsewhere within the community, and then we'll get into the whole shebang of the interview with Thorndeep. Let's have a look. So, Nathan Napalm put out 2 videos this past week. On January 16th, he put out a video discussing the recent events on Massively OP with the putting the list on Pantheon, putting them on the list of the most, the top 10 uncertain games coming, and kind of discussed what was happening there and why is Pantheon on there. And respectfully so, it shouldn't be on there. So if you haven't seen that video yet,
Massively OP just turned into massively waste of time to me.
A discussion we will be having at a later point as well. We'll look into that at some point. But if you haven't seen that video yet, I highly recommend you go check that out on his YouTube channel. And then on January 17th, he put out a video, a discussion on, is solo play even an option in Pantheon? So take a look at those 2 videos, very insightful. And then on the 16th as well, there were 2 streams. I'll jump Pantheon Plus and go straight to Visionary Realms because Pantheon Plus came after that. So Visionary Realms put out a stream, a developer update, talking about what's been going on and showing off the new spellbook that they have, Codex. And then straight after that, Pantheon Plus did a dev recap of that stream, and he was joined by Flying Solo to discuss that. So if you haven't seen those videos yet, I highly recommend go to YouTube. You'll find all those videos there to recap and watch. So that was what's been happening this past week. So, welcome Thorndeep.
Thank you.
This feels like one of these moments where we need to have sounds like the trumpets blow and
Fanfare.
We've been planning to get Thorndeep on for a while now, and it was a back and forth. I kind of mixed up the scheduling between Thorndeep and Battle Axe Theatre, who we've been trying to get on for a very long time. So we basically put that video out on Thursday, I think is when it released, the 16th. We released that video that was aired in December because, hey, we were on break, so we had other priorities. Otherwise, we would have put that video out a lot sooner. But that's on YouTube as well. So if you haven't seen that yet, the Pantheon interview with Battle Axe between us and Battle Axe, you can go check that out on YouTube. So, Josh.
Yeah.
You want to bring us in?
Love to. So, Thorndeep, give us some insight into your gaming background.
Well, to understand my history, it really goes back to when I was 7 and my dad bought me the basic D&D box set. And I fell in love with Dungeons & Dragons immediately and dragged all my friends into it. And through grade school, was really lucky to have an awesome DM, and that basically shaped my whole gaming experience. And ever since then, after that we broke up, and I've always been looking for a new, campaign, bouncing around a lot. So then, when on the computer they released the original D&D modules, I loved those, and the Baldur's Gate and the Icewind Dale. I mean, I've loved all of those games.
Pools of Radiance.
Yes, exactly. So again, the having a hard time finding a Dungeons and Dragons group to play again because bouncing around a lot. I was in Minneapolis, and I was down on bus corner and heard someone talking about EverQuest. I had never heard about online games at that point, and so I went to the game store, saw Meridian 59, Ultima Online, and EverQuest, and EverQuest just for some reason jumped out at me. I loaded it up, and that's the end of the that's all she wrote.
never look back.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really, I come to these games from a real RPG feel, and and that's what draws me to Pantheon too. I think everything I've seen suggests that that's what they're going for. So
it is amazing how much India has actually shaped lots of people's lives in terms of MMOs and gaming itself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, in terms of your gaming setup, what do you prefer at the moment?
I have an Alienware Aurora 6. It's Intel i5 processor, the GeForce GTX 1070. So at this point, I don't really know. It's probably kind of a mid-range system at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But it does the job for me. So when Pantheon
should still be more than able enough to play Pantheon.
Yeah.
I haven't had. I mean, playing any of the games, I haven't had any issues. So it works. And when Pantheon is finally released, I'll be getting a new system, and this system will go to my daughter.
That's how it normally works. It goes to the wife or it goes to the daughter, or to the son or whatever. So same with me. When I finally get my new system, this PC is going to be a battle between my wife and my son. they have to
just
fight for
what
it.
You need to do: set it down in the middle of the living room, like fight.
Exactly.
Well,
Plus a blade on top of the PC, and there you go.
Yeah. If my wife would play, then it would go to her. But I just, for years, have tried to get her to game, she refuses. But my daughter is definitely into it, so I think I've got a recruit for them.
Get them hooked early.
Yep.
Exactly.
You gotta. No. You need those kids gathering the resources for you and
Right.
doing certain FedEx quests for you and everything like that. Turn-ins, and when you come back, you're all sorted for the evening to go out and venture with your buddies and.
There you go.
That's assuming you still have gear.
Exactly, yeah. And money,
And money.
That's happened to me.
Someone told me this piece of bread was worth a lot, so I bought it for everything you had.
That happened to me. My son dropped about 20,000 plat in EverQuest 2.
Oh wow!
Gone. It's like, oh my god.
Oh.
Goodbye,
So
game.
I'm curious about what your best and your worst moments in MMOs were.
Well, the two best moments that really stand out to me are I really remember the first time vividly that I logged in to EverQuest, and it was in Freeport, and I was terrified because I had no idea how these games worked, and the idea of playing with a bunch of other people that I didn't know and couldn't see and had no idea what they were going to do just made me very nervous. And but the world just was alive, and I remember that. And then the second thing I really vividly remember is the first time I saw Lava Storm, and I crested one of the hills and looked out and saw the lava fields and the sky. It was just one of the most beautiful things I had seen in a game at that point. It's pretty sad.
No, really. I mean, when you think of the times,
Yeah.
it was breathtaking.
Yeah, and so I'll just remember that forever. And those were really great moments for me. The worst kind of moment for me, my first character I rolled was a monk because I just
brilliant.
Loved that. But at that time, I really didn't. Didn't know anyone else who played, and I was really trying to kind of solo the whole thing. And I was in a zone. I don't remember exactly where I was, and I was just really, I got to a point where I just couldn't do anything more by myself. And I was sort of sitting there like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Sadly, at that point, I re-rolled the druid, and though I ended up that becoming my main, and I love druids for sure. In hindsight, I wish I had stuck with the monk, because I made the mistake of trying to go it alone, and I'm really approaching things differently this time because I realize that these are community games, and the best memories I really have are grouping up with people I met, and I really want to develop a solid community and have that in Pantheon, and so it's a real goal of mine to have a very different experience from EverQuest. So
yeah. The thing is, people don't realize actually what MMOs actually do for you on a personal level as well, for your situation in the real world, from your work experience, from your personal experience, being involved in such a large community and being open to invite other people in and actually reach out to other people, actually build skills that you need in the real world. People don't realize how important it is, how MMOs impact you on so many levels. It's not just the gaming aspect of it, it's how you develop as a person as well. I've become so secure and open to approaching people on a multitude of levels without feeling anxious or afraid on how they're gonna receive me as a person, etc. It actually builds character. So yeah.
Yarn, the boss just that you're low.
I'm too low.
Mm-hmm.
Let me move my microphone a bit closer.
Is that better, boss?
Is that better?
Because you know, Solitude is the boss. And I will fight anyone who says differently.
She is the pickle queen.
That's right. So
Queen. Okay.
we all kind of know how the MMO industry's kind of devolved a little bit. A lot of players out there are feeling really disenfranchised. Just nothing is there for them anymore. I'm curious what your take on the current situation of MMOs are, and I got to ask: are you one of those disenfranchised as well?
Absolutely. As each game, came out after EverQuest, I jumped in, a lot of betas, going through, and the same thing, just more and more disappointment as I saw the direction that the games were going. And my attention span for MMOs is really short at this point because, at EverQuest, I'm really looking for that experience again, and the genre has really gone in the opposite direction up until this point.
Mm.
So, yeah, but, so from what I've seen, again, from Pantheon, it's really going to bring back that immersiveness and challenge and community that we're all looking for.
Nice. So, do you mind sharing where you are in the world?
Yeah, I'm on the West Coast, California.
Cool. So let's go and talk a little bit about Pantheon. And always a question we ask: when and where did you hear about it first?
So again, that old D&D bug keeps coming back, and I had taken a long break from MMOs and did a search at one point just to see if there were any new MMO games coming out. This was back in 2017. And on a list, they listed Pantheon. I'd never heard of it before. And so I went to the website and looked at the tenants, and it had me hooked immediately because, again, going through, all the other games, I kept thinking through what was it about EverQuest that made it impactful for me. And everything that I had come up with was listed out there on the page. And I was just sort of thunderstruck, like, yes, checking off everything that I had already sort of just thought of for myself, what would draw me back into MMORPG. So then I went and watched the first stream that they had, and looking at the gameplay and just the feel of the world, a shiver ran down my spine because it just, even though it wasn't EverQuest, it just for some reason evoked that feel to me.
Mm. And
I was immediately hooked. I was like, this is it. And ever since then, I've been a fanboy. No getting around it.
Cool.
That answers my question as well. So you go right ahead, Josh.
Exactly.
No problem. Lovely. So what makes the difference between Pantheon and all other MMOs that have decided you about Pantheon so far?
Well, again, it goes back to the idea of challenge and the need for community, and I'm also really excited that the more I see of the various mechanics that they're putting in the game, that exploration is really, in a very intuitive way, seem to be enmeshed in the game.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just going to be a very immersive experience. And as long as we as players sort of get over that need to rush, that which has been put in from so many years of all these other MMOs, the need to rush to the end game and just kind of sinking in and enjoying the journey, I think we are going to be carried on a really incredible experience.
Very well said.
Yeah, exactly. Just people rushing to the end game is always going to be there, unfortunately, sadly.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully
let's
that
move
can.
on to the yeah.
Hopefully that can change, though. Hopefully Pantheon can kind of spark a new direction, a new way of how people approach the game. Because we do know that raiding is going to be a companion. It's not going to be the end game focus. The same with, the content itself. It's not just going to be focused at end game. It's a group centric game. That's where the main focus is going to be. And I'm pretty sure that a lot's going to change how we approach these games, because that is one of the main factors. We've all done it. We've all rushed to endgame. We've all been a part of that journey. And if I look back at it, really, while I did enjoy that time, at the end of the day, I didn't really win anything from it. Because you get stuck up there, you're waiting for the new expansion to come out. You start, creating a twink or an alt and going through there. The amount of times I've done the game over and over again, and if I think back at it, I would rather have developed my main character even further than instead of just rushing all the way up. I missed a good 50% of the whole entire game that I was playing, to be honest.
And I think the perception system is. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. The perception system, from what we've seen of it so far, is really gonna pull people in, because you go up to something and you look at it and suddenly you get this ping and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, what if I go over here and check that out, and you get a ping? So suddenly you're like, oh, where else might I discover these? And so you're really start to engage with the environment and what's around you and start to get curious.
And that's
I was just about to say that I think exploration and finding new areas and finding things that nobody else has found in the world is something that would really draw a lot of people into exploration and not rushing into the end goal. So however VR actually managed to focus on that kind of thing, I hope they do lean heavily towards that.
Yeah, I think, just to quickly touch on before we carry on, the perception system, I think, is designed for that. Like you said, you have this ping all of a sudden. Now imagine yourself running past this statue for from day one, and after about 675 days, you run past it again, and all of a sudden you get a perception ping because your perception skill's high enough. You might have achieved some kind of perception quest series that unlock that ping. I've got a better understanding. So I think that's what's going to be a key factor, is if they can factor that all in, then that's going to help the exploration. That's going to help people want to do a lot more, get more involved in the environment itself, and explore the depths and everything. So I think that's going to be a major factor. The perception system is so fluent and intuitive, and if they do it right, it's going to offer all of us new ways on how to explore these games and how to approach them.
Yeah.
Very true. And the other thing about the perception system too that is very exciting to me is the idea they've mentioned that, you go up to an NPC and they respond to you a certain way. Well, if another character comes up based on their background and what they've done, that NPC might respond completely differently to them. So you can't just like, oh, you did it this way, and run quickly, along that path. The path that someone else is inclined to take might be completely different.
Yep, and we all know that. And we all know that Lex is going to be hated by every single NPC in the game anyway. So.
and a lot of PCs
That's
as
right.
well. So,
yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a mob somewhere that's just going to be wanting to string me up.
It's
Lex,
Lex's special gift.
Lex, I'm first in line. I'm leading that mob, buddy.
Well, like I said, I run faster scared than you can angry.
So let's move on to the Pantheon races. Start off with an easy one. Which of the races in Pantheon has caught your eye?
Actually, that's a really hard one for me. I have read through, all the lores, and again, the take that Pantheon is taking on the different races has me really intrigued. My main in EverQuest was Wood Elf Druid, and I really kind of wanted to recreate that. But their take on the Halfling, I just love, and so I'm really thinking about going Wood Halfling Druid. My daughter's really drawn to the Dark Myrrh, and that's actually gotten me really excited about that race. The Scar, I don't usually go sort of the evil races, but the lore and the look of the ogre, I think, is really intriguing. And the Scar, so it's going to be. I think I'm going to be an alcoholic.
That's a great thing though about what they've done with the whole approach to the races as well. Halfling was a love-hate situation. The gnomes were a love-hate situation for many, many years. And if you look at it now, that people are really enjoying how the halflings are designed and what their background is. The whole twist to the gnomes has a very positive appeal, and they've done a fantastic job of expanding on what these classes typically, or these races typically are about and everything. So it's very interesting to see how they've done that and how people have taken the perception on these races.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they have created a twist of uniqueness through each one of them, or at least the halflings, from my point of view, plus others. So I think that really lends itself to some interesting takes on it.
I'm going to be a bit of an instigator. I got to ask, new Scar or old Scar?
He's not going to let go of that one, is he?
Well, I mean, I really love the concept art for the old Scar. I just thought that was really awesome. I haven't really had a chance to get a feel for, how the new Scar, obviously seen it in game or anything. So I can't really comment on how that's going to work out. But the old Scar concept art I thought was really incredible. I'm kind of, the more I look at the new Scar, it's growing on me. It's kind of got a gritty feel, and it's not as wolf-like, which I really liked about the old one. But
it's how all funguses happen; they grow on you.
Yeah.
Now you sound like my wife when she's describing me.
All right, moving on swiftly. Do you think the way races have been portrayed in the current MMOs that it matters anymore which race to pick and play?
I mean, in most of the ones I've seen, it doesn't seem to really make much difference. They all kind of seem, vanilla. And again, it's one of the reasons that I've been kind of lackluster about, playing, and has got me excited about Pantheon, because the races, again, and also from an RPG perspective, the lore really gives you a lot of different hooks to create an intriguing character.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the one thing in EverQuest, at least, was the water breathing, at least on the one character. I can't remember what it was called again. So it gives you a high swimming, at least. So those ones that at least give you some sort of physical benefit at times, I think are going to be used more often, I reckon. But yeah, so hopefully they do make them quite different. And then in terms of race, which one could you do without, looking at them?
Well, right now the human is the least intriguing to me, just because in comparison to the other lore stories, just doesn't draw me in as much. But it's just my opinion, obviously.
I think they have to really. I think you raised a good point, and I think that's been raised by quite a few other of the community before, saying that one of their least favorite is humans, and I think they really need to find a way to make them more desirable.
Well, I mean,
through maybe increasing the amount of gold that you make, maybe, or something along those lines.
Well, the human racial passives seem pretty amazing. I mean, in that sense, it would seem like a worthwhile reason to play a human. But
I think the biggest problem that everybody has is the humans have been basically designed and put in all of these games in the way we're perceived in the real world. That we can basically adapt and do everything, and we've got basically a very well balanced, stats and everything. There's nothing we can't achieve, etc. And I think that's what the biggest problem is for MMOs in general, is the way we have been designed in games. Makes us, we've got a well-balanced race here, we call them human. They can basically adapt and do any single class and any combo, and they're pretty well balanced out, and they're still pretty powerful no matter what they do. And I think that's the biggest problem that people have, is because, we're resembled as if we are in real life. There's nothing we can't achieve, and that's the biggest problem that people have. And I think people would love to see the human race have like an underlining deficit, something that is so demanding towards the humans and makes it almost impossible to even play that class, to kind of exceed those expectations. People want to be able to take that human and go, right, I'm going to show everybody that, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
I need to make a note because I just came up with an idea.
Good.
Make a note, and then we'll basically talk
Did it
about
hurt?
It did. I think I forgot math now.
I think that's the first time that Lex has actually done this. He's made a note. He's had an idea.
Yeah, that's why I got notebooks all over my freaking office with notes.
Hey, you can basically give the perception that you're taking notes all the time and look like you're busy and everything. Hey, that's the mastermind of.
I have tons and tons and freaking.
Those
tons
pages are blank.
Notes.
I can see that already.
No, they're not.
They're blank. See?
No, they're not. I can't show them because some of them were project notes. And there's one very important page I have to look at every day, or every time you call me up, I have to look at to remind me.
I know. It's basically Yarn is awesome. I love him very much.
No, it's Yarn sucks. Hang up now. But we'll move on to classes. Now, I'm going to ask the question, but I'm going to take a guess at this one. Because I want to know what class you plan to play at launch. I'm going to guess it's going to be a monk.
Actually, you're
wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah.
I was banking on that whole, I missed my monk. I should have stayed with him.
It's a draw, but again, I ended up falling in love with the druid, and
I called it.
Well, it was a 50 shot yard.
But a close second is the summoner. I'm really intrigued by the Archimentals and how that whole mechanic is going to work. I'm really excited to see how that class fleshes out. So I'm thinking, a halfling druid, a dark mirror summoner, and maybe an archai monk, to name a few.
Just because.
Yeah.
So druid's going to be the class, or at least the main one, or the main love.
Yeah.
We all know that no matter how well something's designed, it's not going to be perfect for everybody. Most of the time, it's like it's good enough for me. What would what changes do you think could be made to the druid that would actually make the class better fit you?
Oh boy, I'm not. Well, the main thing that I hope for the druid, and again, this goes back to my EverQuest experience. I didn't realize when I was playing EverQuest the huge stigma against druids. I sort of found out that later. I had never really had problems keeping, groups alive with my healing ability and whatnot. So I was kind of surprised later to hear that people down on druids. I really hope that changes for Pantheon, that druids are looked as like all the classes really for whatever, they each have a strength and a reason to be in the group, and that there's no reason not to take any particular class. So that's my main desire, is that people will be excited to have a druid in their group.
See, I love that. I love that whole every class has its place in a group, and I can't help but think it's very true, because paladins have a spot in a group because every group needs a cheerleader.
Whatever your role, as long as it works.
And druids are going to be equally important to have in a group to make sure that the group carries on doing what they're doing, or else he's going to threaten putting his seed in them. So,
for those that may not know, one of the abilities that VR showed us with the druid was that they have a heal that kind of sits on the target and then kind of blossoms and explodes into healing. And all you're going to hear from Yarn while he's playing druid is, "Hey Alex, I'm going to put my seed in you." And I'll be like, "Oh God, now I got to go back to the center." I'm going to have a bunch of Tic Tacs at my desk, and every time that Yarn says, I'm like, "Here's my morning after pill."
It's planting eating you
every time. So what's your take on like optimal class builds? Like, being able to see these, for lack of a better word, cookie cutters that outline talent trees, specs, AAs, such and such.
Well, that's just it. It's cookie cutter, and if you go back, again, I'm coming from the Dungeons and Dragons background, where you want to create a unique character, and that's the fun in the game. And so the more that an MMORPG can allow each person to sort of have a feeling that they're bringing their own take to the class, I think it's really important.
I couldn't agree more.
Yep. So let's go and move on to Pantheon lore. And, you had a hard time figuring out which race technically is going to be the one for you. But which of the racial lore is your absolute favourite, and why?
The Arkamel Dawn lore, I really enjoyed. In EverQuest, people, like when they would role play ogres and stuff, it was like they were kind of dumb. This gives ogres a really different feel. Very fierce and tribal. And I love, I felt that the story was very compelling, and it actually kind of made me, and I also really like the animations for the ogre. I like how they're done. So those two combined have actually kind of got me interested in playing an ogre.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I really digged about it as well, is giving the ogres the intelligence that they actually deserve, because they've always been perceived as large brute brunts that are stupid and dumb and have absolutely no other means apart from just using brute force. And now these guys, they feel like strategists. They've got a military mind. They don't just go out in force and beat everything down and scratch their bottoms and everything. They're smart. They look very, very smart, and you have to be very careful when you approach them, otherwise they'll get you.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the the Ogre Magi, for instance, are very intelligent casters in Dungeons and Dragons lore. And I don't understand why people see them as such brutes while they're being typecast that way. But I do believe that they have got such a diverse race structure that they can be almost anything, to be honest. Yeah, so in terms of that lore, I mean, with your D&D background, how important is it for you in the game?
Again, in EverQuest, I didn't pay attention to the lore at all. I just played the game, and but in Pantheon, I'm really getting drawn into the lore. And going back to the perception system, I think that it's going to be very important. I think that it's going to be a real hook, and wanting to discover and explore and find out, why is this interesting standing stone there, and having a means to really to learn the history behind it, I think will be really fascinating.
Yeah.
So throughout some of the past newsletters, we've had some signature NPCs revealed to us with little stories. I'm curious as to which one has intrigued you the most.
So again, the Archimel Dawn, and then also I really enjoyed the Thaylen Greyborn. Mm-hmm. I really liked her story, and one of the reasons those two in particular drew me in is that I could imagine like wanting to meet them in game, and like having quests to like get to know them. I thought that would be really. So again, it's like these hooks into the role play experience and the world where you learn or hear about these heroic characters, and you want to get to know them and find out more about their story and maybe ally with them, or it draws you into the story and into
to me, even the signature NPCs that I'm not real keen on for whatever reason, I still look at them as they're almost like stones, and like the world of the MMO is a pool, and it just helps you just sink right in, because they're almost. You read stories about them, you become familiar with them when you see them in game. All of a sudden, now you have a chapter in that character's story that you fill in yourself, and I love it.
Yeah. I think the problem with signature NPCs, because it's nothing new, it's basically been in every single MMO out there. You have signature NPCs that define some of the backstory. And the problem is, I think most developers failed to get that connection done right with the lore, with the embedding into the game, and with the engagement with the community and the players themselves. And I think that's what the biggest problem is, why a lot of people do not really identify with these signature NPCs, because it's not done right by the developers and everything.
I don't even know if I would say not done right. It's just not done. It's not. They don't go far enough.
Yeah.
No.
They kind of go like, this is good enough for whatever my boss told me to do. Let's move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It sort of makes me think, again, kind of going back to memorable experiences you'd asked about. One of my favorite things is when Belios came out, and finding Thurgadon and learning about getting to know these dwarves and slowly working my way in my faction up and getting more friendly with them bit by bit and working really hard to do that. And I ended up falling in love with that city, and it was really exciting. It was one of the best moments for me when I finally got max faction, and I was like, and I can talk to everybody. And so it kind of goes back to that, to the lore and really engaging the player.
Okay. All right, so moving on to trade skilling. How do you view the crafting in MMOs? Do you make use of them? Have you used them in the past?
Yeah, I love both. I noticed a question here about the harvest nodes. I am addicted to harvest nodes. I cannot pass one up. I'm a real pack rat. Like everything I come across, it's terrible. It's always challenged with bank space.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's because
I hate shinies.
That's because
I
you
hate
and the
shinies.
shiny shy. That's the shinies in your bank space.
Shinies and rocks and hides and plants and.
But if anybody in the guild ever needs anything, we know who to go to.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's
Shy.
why we're going to gather them.
I need one of them, 2 of those, 3 of them, 1 of them.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
and
about what
really,
it was.
This really rare kind of ore. Oh, how many do you need? I got like 6 stacks.
Exactly. Exactly. It works out well.
Yeah, so I love crafting. I would have loved to have seen like everything be player made. That's not the direction that Pantheon's going. But it's. I'm disappointed, but it's not going to keep me from playing the game for sure. And we haven't really seen anything in depth about the crafting system, so that's one thing I'm really curious about, and I do hope they get it right because it is to a lot of players. And so there's nothing more disappointing to spend all this time working on a trade skill and you realize that it really didn't benefit you at all.
Sounds like you've played WoW.
Yeah,
it would kind of like it would kind of like be interesting to see, trade skilling in general. Like you said, it's either something that's beneficial for you and worth your while, or beneficial to the other player base, and that's as far as developers have always looked. It would be interesting to see the trade skills, if they don't benefit yourself or benefit other player characters, it can benefit the NPC or the environment itself. Taking that extra step and seeing how to get people involved in crafting and how to make them beneficial in no matter what. Make them useful no matter what. So you might not be somebody that has a trade skill that interacts with player characters, but you interact with the world itself, with cities itself and things like that. And I think that's something that would be interesting to look at, and causes for maybe another discussion at some point to look at trade skills again. But to move on, what purpose do you think crafting should serve in an MMO, and more so with Pantheon?
Well, yeah, I think they should be hopefully an integral part. Why have it in the game if it doesn't somehow strengthen or bring depth to your character? So, yeah, I think that should be an integral part.
And I'm going to go ahead and just shoehorn another question in here. I'm going to ask, what is your favorite trade skill?
Baking.
Really?
Baking. Yeah, I used to be a baker as well.
Do you actually like bake in real life too?
I do. Yeah, I like it. But there's something about like finding some meat on an animal and like being able to make use out of it. I don't know. I just did for some reason.
Oh, that's cool.
I used to love making stuff in EverQuest too, the baking side of it, to boost our characters up. And
that reminds me,
really
guys.
good.
In March we've got our 4 years coming up. What cake would you like to see this year around? That I can tell my wife, you have to make
cake we can eat.
One that you actually share with
One that I can actually taste.
at the end of the day, I would love to share it. I'll give you my address. You book a ticket. You fly over for the weekend. I've got plenty of room to put you guys up. You just got to get down here.
I can see it now. My wife marched downstairs. Well, why is there like a $2,000 charge on the credit card? Oh, I bought some tickets to Germany for us. Why? Because I want cake.
Well, if it's good cake, though, it's totally worth it.
Oh yeah.
But just once I want to taste it instead of having you wave it in front of the camera going, it's so good.
We will definitely,
you guys can't taste it.
We will definitely get that.
Let me taste it in front of you on camera. Oh, it's so good.
We will definitely get that set up.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if not through actually traveling. This cake that my wife does, I'll get her to pass on the recipe. You guys have to follow it to the detail, though. Otherwise, you're not going to get the proper sense. And then you can have your wives or yourselves make it, and then, you know, that's how I'll share it with you guys or something. I don't know.
just remember, though, European measurements are different than American measurements.
My wife can transfer that into ounces and cups and everything. So don't worry about
So
that.
in other words, I'm going to have to ask my wife to tell me, because as much
I
as
have
I
to convert
admire
enough
those who can bake and cook, when someone says a cup, I go, okay, this cup or this cup.
So let's move on to some general questions. So they recently streamed Amber Fate in a little bit more detail. What were your thoughts on it? And if you compare it to the first reveal of Amber Fate when we saw it for the first time, they made quite a few strides. So what was your take on that stream?
Well, again, I feel like they've made an incredible. I was happy with the original. I would have played that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way it looks now is beautiful, and I'm finding myself in a real dilemma at this point. That, for me personally, I've seen enough. I'm sold. I'm sold on Pantheon. Like every new reveal to me says they're moving in the right direction. They're bringing in things that are going to make the game challenging and immersive. So. I'm sold, and so part of me doesn't want to watch anymore.
I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
With I hope that the Project Faithar, when it finally comes into its reveal and is the core point of their marketing and presenting the game, I hope that is as much as we as players, people that are invested in the game, VIPs, alpha, beta. I hope we don't get to see too much of the game through the testing stages, because like you said, I used to enjoy doing that, don't get me wrong. We used to love getting into closed betas and alphas and this, that and the other, and seeing the game for the first time and getting to know all the ins and outs. But I'm past that now. I want to get into that game when it's released and still discover stuff that I didn't have any idea about. So yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah. So I'm sold. They have hook, line, and sinker at this point. I'm just really excited. And the dev, I really enjoy the short dev streams that they were doing. I think that's been excellent. I don't have too much expectation for what they're going to show, but just even like the living codex that they showed the other day got my imagination really going and really excited about, how are we going to be able to customize or pick, each different spell. And
that's what I did. I was looking at the picture of the book, and I'm like, what are those dots for? What are those tabs for?
Yep.
Oh, look, there's a search function. Oh, look, there's a sort thing.
and it's those little things, though, that are enough. As long as they bring in updates and reveal visuals, or show a revamp of the living codex and this, that, and the other, or go even deeper in the next stream or something like that and show a prime. That's more than enough. We don't need to constantly see gameplay advancements, this, that, and the other. We know what they're capable of. You guys have shown that. It's now. Treat us with some smaller details every now and then, and you're absolutely right. With these new video newsletters on the bi-weekly schedule, that's more than enough. And even if they, don't show new footage, but talk about where they currently are and what they're doing, and even talking about some of the issues that they ran into.
I was going to say, what I really want to see is them sit down with us, just another, like the last one, a nice short 20-30 minutes kind of stream, share some hilarious stories with us of like tracking down bugs, like there's one time this bug when you stepped on this rocket sent you flying in the air and you fall to your death, and then they laugh about it, share about when people were finding out, and it's like, oh, then they fixed it, and we try to get people to do this, and so we made a spell that does it to people now, and it's things like that that really help you to connect with the developers rather than just kind of be fed information.
there was actually one of the developer roundtables that one of the Q quality assurance gals talked. It was a good one where she talked about some of the funnier bugs. I forget. It was quite a while ago. It should be up on YouTube now.
But it's probably the only one that I even remember. Just because it was the most personal one.
Yeah.
And that's the thing though, right? And that's what I think would help developers in general. Is going. You don't have to go completely personal. You still have to keep that distance, but bringing in that personal touch would make us as fans, as gamers, as followers of the game, this, that, and the other. It would make us feel more connected to them and more accepting towards them as well. Because
I think
developers...
the better thing to say is it helps bridge the gap from being a fan of the game to being a fan of the game and the developer.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and it makes us actually give them more benefit of the doubt and give them more support and be more forthcoming and more, you know, understanding when there are hiccups than as it is now.
That's what a lot of developers don't realize, that when you do connect to your audience on not 100% personal, but just a more personal level, you're going to find that people are a lot more tolerant, because it's just like, you know, if a friend is at your house and he drops a glass, you're like, oh, that's no big deal. If a stranger came in, you'd be like, what the bleepity bleep
yep,
bleep,
exactly.
Get the bleepity bleep,
you know,
bleep.
well, actually, a better example for that would have been your friend comes over and just goes into your fridge, uses your fridge.
It's no big deal.
But a stranger comes in, starts opening up your fridge, you're like, what the?
Let me introduce you to my friend Brass Knuckles.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But moving on. Before the holiday break, we had a couple really interesting video newsletters. One of them was the new UI element. Curious what your thoughts were on those.
I think they're beautiful. I like the way they're tying everything together, and it has a whole sort of visual continuity through each different UI element. The resource one where they showed the resource one, I thought was brilliant.
You don't think it was like too flashy or too cluttered, or maybe there's not enough detail?
I think I wouldn't make it more. But going back to the resource one, it felt really intuitive to me. Like you saw it and you got a sense of how it was working and what was going on without having to crunch numbers or really, you know, look at it too. You could just kind of look at it and go, oh, okay, and then bring your face back to the world. And that's really, I think, where the strength is. The more, again, we can be focused on the world around us and less on the UI elements, the better.
Right. I mean, I feel pretty much the same way. Like, there was no part of the UI that didn't feel like, if it was important visually, I could see that it was important. It was right there. It was clear to see. I heard a lot of people say that they were concerned about the animated or sparkly border around the perception stuff. And I understand that fear. Do you kind of share the same feeling, or are you fine with it?
I'm fine with it. Again, from what I've seen, it sort of pops up and it's there, you know, so that you are made aware of it, and I think that's important because they are important.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then, if you want to turn them off or you want to ignore it, you just click and it's gone. So I'm not particularly bothered by that, and I think it does kind of highlight that this is something you should pay attention to or check out.
And also, I mean, perception is something that's not going to be popping up every 10 seconds.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the other thing is as well, it's all about options, giving us players options as well. As long as they have a way for people to, you know, resize it so it's not, you know, right there in your face, or even turn it off, and then you just basically get the notification in chat that, you know, hey, you know, you see some way in some kind of color scheme, whatever, you got the chat about the perception. As long as they give people options, I think that's going to be the key.
They are. they've said that the UI is going to be fully,
Yeah.
you can move around and change the size and all that sort of stuff, which the same with any, sort of modern MMO. So I'm not, that doesn't concern me at all. I think they've got it covered.
Yeah. So we've seen the warrior class a lot. It's kind of like we're watching the child grow. Now I know you're not a warrior fan, but I'm curious how you feel about the warrior from when we first saw it with like the 1999 graphics. Here's conceptual placeholders versus what we saw just a couple weeks ago.
Well, I think it has come a long way, and I like that. It seems like they're making it more strategic. Being able, you choose, which banners you want to drop. And I haven't looked too closely into their skill set, but hopefully, again, that there's a lot of situational skills that the warrior is going to be able to use. And I think that's the same with all the tanks. It really looks like they're developing them each to have their own flavor and their own way of dealing with each encounter, so they'll feel unique.
Yeah, it's kind of
Go ahead.
it's kind of the thing with the warrior, right? They've kind of nailed it with that class. Everybody, it's like you compare it to any other game. The Guardian, like EverQuest, the Guardian, or EverQuest 2, the Guardian was the meat shield. He was the one that took the biggest hits and could take the biggest hits and everything. He was your main tank. And if you look at the warrior, right? We know it's going to be one of the main tanks and everything. It's going to be the most sought-out tank for when it comes to certain things. But the way this warrior is now perceived, it actually feels like you're actually playing a warrior. He's a master of all the weaponry. He's a master of strategical fighting with the banners system and everything. They've actually made that class.
He looks flexible.
He looks flexible. He looks smart. He looks intelligent. He looks like, it's not your, somebody got a warrior. We need somebody to tank this NPC for us because we can't get him down to we can't kill him. It's now like the warrior is going to be a very sought out class, but it's going to be a strategic class as well. Not everybody's going to be able to play the warrior and off you go. You're a master at this class. You're going to have to figure that one out for you because it's not going to be just I'll take this tank because I want to be one that takes all the hits. For you to take all those hits, you're going to have to be smart about it.
Yeah, and the shield mechanic has me really intrigued to try it out, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a resource that you're going to have to grow in time. It sounds like, when you're going to have to learn when is the most damage coming in to use my shield bash or a particular skill to absorb that and use all that. The shield energy resource, I forget if that's the right word.
The mitigation, I think it was. Yeah. One thing I will say is it really feels like, I know it's not, but it feels like a really targeted thing where they're using the warrior so much now because they know that I really want to play a Dire Lord. The warrior has me interested because they've been showing so much about it, and it's not your typical warrior. Typical warriors are very inflexible. This one is.
You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah.
Lex is now starting to
No.
sway away from the dialogue. Somebody catch that soundbite.
No, because the only thing that would actually cause me to actually swap is if we did another community stream and I didn't have a choice and I had to play a warrior, because they know that they. It's
VR?
Just, you can tell from my personality. If I try it, I'll fall in love with it.
Right. At VR, please.
No.
Organize another community stream. Get the old team together again. And Lexa is only allowed to play the warrior. Please, Jopper, Ben, Kilson, anybody out there who catches this, set that up.
Don't let them.
Set that up. Right?
No.
And Madaki, go for it, please. Pass that on.
Me and Madaki, we tight. We homies.
Let's get it. Let's get it going. Right. I'm going to send a message after. Actually, I'm going to send a mail later on to Kilson and Ben Dean. I'm going to try and get that set up. Here we go.
Here's the thing. I have already taken steps to prevent that. Because I have gone on another show, Pantheon Plus, and actually said that if offered the chance, they should give it to somebody else because I've already played.
Doesn't
So
matter.
I'm
Look. That's not the only community stream that VR is going to do.
I've got an out now. I've already gotten out. I can say no. You should. I already said you should give it to somebody else. So I don't have to play Warrior.
Doesn't matter how you turn that now. Doesn't matter how you turn and try and twist it. You've just lost out, right?
No.
So VR, I will be contacting you. We will get this sorted out. Let's move on.
Well, this shows how VR is going to turn everyone into alcoholics. Because
I hope not.
To draw people in, and I think that's awesome. You know, there's a reason to play every class.
Yeah, so we all enjoy good spell effects happening in game, and I know I enjoy it. How are you liking the visuals in the game so far, from what you've seen?
I've enjoyed them a lot. Again, the graphics to me are full disclosure, are not super important. I was happy with EverQuest graphics as long as the gameplay was really engaging. And this is one thing that actually I've been thinking about. I almost feel like playing an MMO is like or graphics are like the. Sorry, I'm having trouble describing what I'm saying. Like the difference between reading a book and going to see a movie. When you read a book, your imagination is engaged, and it really pulls you in. To me, much more than when you actually have the full realistic look. And so, I kind of enjoy when graphics aren't picture quality, because it allows my imagination to fill in the gaps, and it pulls me into the world more. And so finding a way to keep it, I don't know, for lack of, have a character and not so photorealistic, I think is more engaging, just because
I hear exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think that it's easier to fill in the gaps mentally than it is to, if you are doing an over-the-shoulder view of somebody that is running really badly in the game and not moving correctly. I think that pulls you out of the game more than it being picture perfect, in my view as well.
Yeah. The animation, they're having some, smooth quality to the animations is definitely important, so that, like body, your mind doesn't go, body doesn't work.
Now all I can think of is the old VR streams where the guards are walking around like this.
I
remember the first time I saw that, I'm like,
but that's the thing though, right? That's stuck in your head.
Not for a good reason though, because now I'm never going to go back to that area. If I can get around it, I won't go there, because that's all I'll see when I see those guards, and I'm just going to snicker and laugh. Just no.
Not good. So, are you currently in a guild? And if not, what do you look for in a guild? And what are expectations when you are in a guild?
So a while back, I joined the Old Timers Guild. My hope was that I would get to play with some of these folks in other games before we got to Pantheon. Unfortunately, that hasn't panned out. And so for my usual way of going about it is just waiting till I get in the game and see who I end up grouping with, and finding, the people that I fall in with. I'm a casual. I'm a casual player in that, my time is limited, but then I also want to try to push myself as far as I can, be challenged in each gaming session. So, finding people that, similar is I found very tricky.
Yeah.
But it's important to me to actually play with people. I've had too many experiences where I've met some people and chatted them up, and they seem friendly, and then you join a guild, and then you never end up really getting a chance to play with them anymore. So I've come to the point where I just kind of want it to evolve more naturally and see, who I ended up teaming with. I definitely want to be in a guild. It's really important for me, especially for Pantheon, because it is such a community-oriented game, and I'm not worried about it, because from what I've seen, you guys, the whole Pantheon community is amazing, and there's just a lot of really passionate folks out there. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun together.
Well, speaking of the community, I'm curious how you feel the Pantheon community is unique when compared to other game communities.
I haven't spent a huge amount of time in other gaming communities recently, so mainly because I've found them to be toxic in a lot of ways. So Pantheon, the maturity that people, for the most part.
Yeah, that's directed at you, Lex.
That's fine. We directed it all at once.
Bring to the table, and the clash of ideas is great, and the discourse that people have and the passion that people have, I find very refreshing.
Nice. So here's a question you've never heard before on the Pantheon VoT show. And this is purely speculative, okay, so nobody take this seriously. When do you expect Pantheon to hit alpha?
This is for the pool that we're running.
Exactly. When do you expect Pantheon to hit alpha and be released, if you were to speculate?
I'm not going to speculate on the release date. As everyone, I'm really hoping that alpha happens this year. I hope PA5 will happen within the next couple of months. If it doesn't, again, I'm in the camp of let them get it right.
Exactly.
That's far more important to me than rushing into the game. But my gut sense is that we'll hopefully see PA5 in 3 or 4 months, and then a couple months after that, hopefully alpha. But I don't know. I'm not a developer, and I don't know.
Yarn's learning the hard way that sometimes simple things take a long time to do.
Yeah. Well, and just again, the behind the scenes glimpses that they've given to us, to me, is fascinating, and it makes me think of all the work, kind of what people, when making a movie, and all the moving parts that are involved with that. An MMO is very similar.
Yep.
There's all these pieces to the puzzle that need to be put, and it's not a linear path. It's a web.
Hey, Lex. Just on your comment just there that you snuck in, if I was getting paid for it by the hour, I wouldn't care less, dude.
Welcome to my world on every single project.
Yeah. I wouldn't be bothered. Hey, it took me 27 hours to figure this one out. That will be $2,750, please.
No, that's not usually how it works.
Well,
especially if you're on contract.
Kind of like Dickens, who got paid by the word, So that's why his.
God, I wish. I'd make Mark Zuckerberg look like a pauper. Damn. So,
yeah.
Would you attend a Pantheon, basically a fan-organized Pantheon event? How far would you travel, and what would it take to get you there?
I'm already like trying to figure out, when they'll be at a certain place. I would try very hard. I would do my best to make it if I can. That's all I can say. Because I think it would be a blast to meet all you guys in person and sit down and have a beer. And
I'll be sober for a total of 30 minutes, where I can meet and greet people, and after that, it's like,
I'll be drunk before I even get there.
you have to meet me on the taxi ride over.
Which is actually very strange to hear that come out of my mouth, because I don't usually drink.
So that's the plan. Whenever the VoT guys get to a Pantheon, everybody has to buy Yarn a drink. And then we get to take pictures of him like half naked, swimming through a hotel fountain or something.
Hey, Brass will back me on this. I can hold my own, and I can.
Brass will buy you more beers.
Exactly.
Oh, it doesn't matter if you can hold your own. You can be the best drinker in the world. You drink enough, your ass is going for a swim.
Oh, well, I take that challenge. I drink working alcoholics under the table for a living.
That's fine.
All right.
I'm just saying, it's just like buying people's integrity. Everyone's got a price. Everybody's got that number of drinks where you just frickin' lose it.
Oh, I've been a barkeeper for way too long to know actually how to mix the perfect cocktail to keep you level-headed. I'll show you those. I'll teach you those, and I'll show you those.
I don't want to be level-headed.
Right.
Why would I do that?
Right. The greatest thing about people drinking is the stuff you can get them to do.
And say,
exactly. People are so much more open than they realise, and then they'll wake up the next day and they'll think, oh my god. When they start to look back on what happened that evening and start to put the pieces together, it's almost like Hangover. At the end of the movie, you'll see me with the camera with all the leverage photos I've got.
But what if you drink so that you don't do that?
Pardon?
What if you drink because you don't want to do that stuff, because sober you do that stuff?
It makes me think of this YouTube show that I discovered called Hot Ones. I don't know if you're familiar, but this guy interviews people, and as the interview goes along, they eat spicy chicken wings.
Oh, yes!
Yeah, I've seen that one, yeah.
It is brilliant. Because by the end, they can't think anymore because their mouth is so on fire that they just say whatever is on their mind. So
I got an idea though about this Pantheon, right? Because you said you'd like to get to meet everybody. I think we should all book. Right, we should try and find this flight path. This airliner that goes on a certain flight path that covers all of our destinations, and we'll all basically get onto that plane, and then we'll do the Pantheon in the plane. I think that would be the cheapest way to do this and get this actually organised.
So your idea of the cheapest way to do this
but
is
I don't want to be put on a watch list. I don't want to end up on a watch list.
Why not? It's fun.
What if you're already on one?
Exactly. What if you're already on one?
Oh, God.
Taking care of 2 little chicken wings is not a life, Shy.
Shy's idea of a watch list of 2 birds watching her.
I always have 2 birds watching me.
Exactly.
Staring at me. Like now.
See, Moko's got an idea. Next time we'll do next time we do a game night, we'll all get like super hot wings.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll be here cheering.
You guys
would be fun.
I'll be the sober one watching you guys.
That would definitely be a lot of fun. So, Josh, drive us in. Bring us back.
Right. So, fast forward 3 years. What do you imagine Pantheon to evolve into? And don't say Pantheon 2.
No, definitely not. Well, first, I hope it's lunch by then.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hopefully, ideally, it's been out for 2 years, 2 years. One expansion down. people have, word of. I firmly believe that Pantheon is going to grow through word of mouth. People are aching for a game like this, and the younger, again, I go back to my daughter. She's grown up playing Minecraft, and Minecraft is harsh. You die, you drop all your stuff, you have to go back to get it. So there's a lot of kids that are used to harsh penalties, having to survive in the world, and I think there's a real audience for this, and the immersiveness of it being a real world is going to really hook people, and people are going to talk about it, and it's slowly going to grow. I really believe that, and so I think its popularity will grow over time, and hopefully the developers will. We're all praying that they stay on track. They keep, the expansions that they bring are incremental, just as immersive, and we just keep to exploring this fascinating world.
Nice. So, Shai, you have no questions, correct?
No questions. He already answered the one that I did have.
Okay.
So no.
So, Thorndeep, scrap everything you've said and heard, and set up and thought about, because that is absolutely unimportant.
All the questions up to this point were just foreplay.
Yeah, it's just basically, that was just basically the warm up. Okay. This is the most important question, and the only question that should count.
Okay.
Who is the VoT host with the most?
I'm going to have to go with Shayna.
Vote for Shai, it's a vote for me, so we're good.
She's
Sweet.
there, I feel like, you're working behind the scenes as well, and that's what they'll...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Josh. You said what I was thinking.
Shut up.
She does more than she'll admit and more than we'll acknowledge.
Yeah, it's about what it is. It's okay. At least somebody saw through it. I'm keeping I'm going to be grouping with Thorndeep, guys, just to say.
The good thing is, right?
I'm delighted.
The good thing is, Lex, I'll be working on the functionality for the host with the most going forward, so I'll be able to manipulate it like you have. Yes, I will.
No, you won't, because you're a front-end monkey.
Hey, you wait.
Wait a minute, I thought you called him a back-end monkey. Never mind.
No.
Sorry.
Well, that's when you're not talking about software development.
Right, anyway.
You forget, Yarn, the server that runs everything is right over here.
Hey.
I can push the button and it's gone.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, that was our conclusion, our interview with Thorndeep. It was great having you on. I'm glad we finally got to get that set up properly. And again, I do apologise for the mix-up. Hectic times. So, we've been saying for quite some time, everybody, that we're trying to get you guys more engaged and give you guys a more previewed outline of what we will be doing. That is still ongoing. That will be coming. Hopefully by March we will have everything set up for the better part of the year. We have a lot of things still coming. March will be a big one where you'll see a lot of changes happen. So stay tuned. And we want to try and get you guys out there all more involved. And next week, the topic, like I said, we're still ongoing, we're still working, we're still getting into it all, into the trot of it all. We literally haven't really been around in the back end as people would think. We literally took the time to relax, and obviously it was the Christmas period.
When?
We did, Lex, we did.
I didn't even celebrate Christmas, I was too busy working on your
Anyway, there's a lot of things still to come. We will see you all next week. We're definitely keeping the schedule going. Saturday 6 p.m. Eastern. So we hope you all have a great weekend. Josh, I'll see you tomorrow for the big one.
Yes.
And Lex, I'll definitely see you again. Unfortunately.
Don't sweet talk me. Don't you threaten me like that.
You know, if we do a show that you're interested in, or you have something that you want to discuss and would like to do something and sit down and talk with us, throw it our way and we'll definitely set that up. You're more than welcome to come back on the show. And we definitely have something planned for the future in regards of the player Q&As that we've done. A community show where we'll try and get as many of you guys on our show that have been guests on our show, and to just have a nice open discussion. That's in the works as well.
We have circus music playing for that show, because it's good miracle to coordinate.
Hey, that's a core feature that I can coordinate that stuff pretty well.
That's why you're the host. I'm just a pretty face.
Exactly. Anyway, have a great weekend. Thorndeep again, thanks again. And
Thank you.
We will see you all next weekend. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Have a fantastic weekend.
Bye.